1, 2, 3.
No, I wasn't Princess Peach by choice. I don't think my family saw me play until about my 21st test, whereby I was a bit too big for my boots and I didn't think I'd ever be playing rugby in Australia again.
Andrew Kellaway has brought this stadium alight.
I'm the equal youngest of four, so I've got a twin brother, but my two older brothers played rugby down in Hunters Hill. So I suppose, like any younger brother, it's pretty natural. You spend a lot of your formative years trying to compete and impress your older siblings. So yeah, I spent the better part of my childhood trying to play rugby with my brothers, and by the time I was old enough to actually play with them, they'd all given it up. So it's a bit of a shame. Yeah, I lived with Jakey when we both started at the Waratahs there, so there was 5 of us, myself, Jakey Gordon, McLean Jones, who plays for Chicago now, Sammy Croker, who was playing for the Aussie Sevens at the time, and Mitch Short, who's playing for Béziers over in France. So the 5 of us lived together in Maroubra, then we moved over to Coogee. You know, Jake and I were laughing. We had a couple of beers at Christmas and we're playing Mario Kart on an old Nintendo, which we used. That's how we decided who did the chores, was Mario Kart. Whoever lost did the cleaning up. And we were playing again, we found it. And you sit there and you think, geez, they were you know, some of the best times of my life. So yeah, Jakey's one of my closest mates. Jake's character is Wario. Everyone had to be the same character. So Jakey was Wario, and Wario Raceway, there's a little shortcut right at the start. You can jump over the barrier and it gets you like half a lap ahead. It's so good. But no one could do it except Jake. But then Cooper Trooper Beach, my character was Princess Peach. Here we go. And there's this little jump through the waterfall, everyone knows it. And that was my little thing there. So no, I wasn't Princess Peach by choice, I lost. I was Donkey Kong as my character. But when we ran out of things to play for, we started playing to swap characters and I ended up with Peach, so it's tough.
Amazing how the game of rugby can either work for you one day or not the next. You talked about Kellaway and the opportunity for him.
In the moment, you just sort of take it for granted, and for me, as I said, part of those experiences I had overseas, you leave not only your friends and family, but I was living with 4 of my best mates in a beautiful part of Sydney, and then I moved to the countryside in England by myself. So, to be totally honest, wasn't exactly a choice. It was more by necessity than anything. I think I was at a bit of a crossroads in my career, whereby I was a bit too big for my boots, and yeah, and I got the sort of tap on the shoulder and told that I wasn't going to be re-signed. And at the time, the only option for me actually was to go over to Northampton. And I mean, look, I've said it a lot over the last 18 months how grateful I was for that experience. And there's countless stories about blokes who get the tap on the shoulder and don't ever get another contract. So I was really happy there. I had a great time playing there. It's a fantastic stadium, fantastic community, and you know, I spent probably the first half of my time there looking back retrospectively on all the things I'd done wrong and how I'd ended up there. And by the time I was ready to leave, I actually really wanted to stay. So it was a pretty funny old experience. Yeah, the things you learn about yourself when you move away from home and out of home. And yeah, I mean, you're genuinely by yourself there. So you learn what makes you tick and what motivates you. And then, you know, the knock-on effect of that is you learn how best to get that out of yourself. And that was certainly the case for me.
He is loving life in the green and gold, Andrew Kellaway.
So I got the call to tell me that I'd been selected in the first squad of the year. I was at lunch for my fiance's birthday, and eventually, I mean, it would have been 45 minutes to an hour worth of constant ringing and messages, and eventually I sort of thought, oh geez, I better check this in case something's wrong. And the first call I got once I'd checked my phone was Scotty Wisemantle, who was calling to tell me that I'd been picked. And we were going to Hamilton Island the next day, or we were supposed to go to Hamilton Island the next day, just after I'd come home from a long stint in Japan, and phone call came on her birthday, and I had to tell her that the Hamilton Island trip was cancelled and I was heading into camp. So she was the first one that found out. I don't know how happy she was. There was tears and laughing and all sorts of stuff. So it was a funny phone call into a funny conversation.
What a moment for Andrew Kellaway, Wallaby debut.
Initially, sort of the borders closing, the game was supposed to be in Sydney. It was sold out. You know, I'm sitting there going, if I can get a gig in that game, that's the stuff dreams are made of. And sure enough, it sort of happened. And by this point, the borders had been closed and the game had been moved to Suncorp. So yeah, it was super weird. You know, you sort of call your parents and tell them you're going to make your debut and no one can come up and watch. So yeah, it was a weird experience. The emotions were sort of absent a little bit. You don't really have time to feel it. You find out and then you're straight into training. It was a cool week because it sort of took away all the distraction, because there was no family, no friends, no nothing. You're sort of in camp, borders are closed, no one's coming, don't have to sort tickets out. You're not dealing with a million requests for jerseys or catching up with people. It just, it all sort of unfolded as it did, and yeah, it was awesome. I don't think my family saw me play until about my 21st test or 20th test. So your debut is the one you think everyone's going to want to come to, and then after that, you know, you expect your family probably to come and watch, but the interest dwindles slowly. The weird thing for me was, as I said, it was sort of my 20th test, and I was having, it was as if it was my debut, you know. I'm getting my grandparents, my parents, my brother's mates, people I haven't spoken to in 10 years, chasing tickets and things like that. So it can be a little bit annoying, but at the same time, it's such a cool thing to be able to share that with other people, and particularly people you know and care about. So it was a weird thing for me to have that sort of almost 20 tests down the road, but yeah, it was great. Free day in Melbourne's changed a little bit for me over the last sort of 12 months. Start of the year last year, start of 2022, off day would definitely have been 4 or 5 coffees into a round of golf. But having spent a lot of last year injured, started to look into some work experience. So I graduated from university at the start of last year and thought it was probably about time I start to get my ducks in a row, so to speak. And it's been a really cool experience to be able to you know, dip the toe into what life after rugby might look like, and obviously the golf's taken a bit of a back seat with the moon boot. But I'm sure once we're sort of back into it, be able to find a nice balance, maybe a half day of work in the office into 18 holes.
Australia said from day one they weren't coming here to run second.
You know, timing is everything, and some guys don't even get a chance to be around for that. So even being, you know, hopefully touch wood, available for selection for a World Cup is a start. So there was a point in my career where I didn't think I'd ever be playing rugby in Australia again, let alone for Australia. So yeah, I mean, even to be in the mix is such a cool experience, you know. Like, we're sitting in a meeting yesterday and Hoops is talking about little nuances that occur in a World Cup year, which just straight across the top of my head, I had no idea they even occurred. And you sort of sit and pinch yourself a little bit that you're even considering these things. But well, it goes without saying, doesn't it? It's one of those things you spend your life, or your early life, playing this sport for a whole host of reasons, but winning and being selected is one of those. And so to be included in a squad, to go to a World Cup in a place like France as well, really cool country. A really nice way to say, you know, I set out to achieve something and did it. So here's hoping.